Hello everyone, and welcome to Veritas Channel. Here, we dive deep into the shadows of true crime and explore both solved and unsolved mysteries, piecing together stories based on publicly available information. We encourage you to share your thoughts and correct us if you see things differently. After all, every perspective counts in the pursuit of truth. Katelyn Markham had a smile that could light up a room, a vibrant spirit that warmed everyone she met. She was the kind of person who made you feel seen, no matter how crowded the room. But one summer night, Katelyn vanished without a trace, leaving behind nothing but questions and shattered hearts. The story takes us to Fairfield, a small town near Cincinnati, Ohio, where Katelyn lived. Born on August 16, 1990, Katelyn was raised alongside her younger sister, Allie, in a home full of love, despite her parents' eventual separation. From a young age, Katelyn was known for her creative spirit and love of colour, which later flourished into a passion for art. She was well loved by her friends and family, a bubbly personality who filled her surroundings with laughter. After graduating from high school, Katelyn met John Carter. John was charming, the boy next door, and soon they became inseparable. Their relationship blossomed, and by 2011, the young couple was engaged, planning a future together. But just as their story seemed ready to embark on a bright new chapter, tragedy struck. In August 2011, Fairfield was in the throes of summer celebrations, warm nights, laughter, and lights strung across streets. Katelyn and John were just another young couple enjoying the heat of the season, until one night when everything changed. After what seemed like an ordinary evening, John reported Katelyn missing the next day. He said he had seen her the night before, but when she failed to text him good morning and didn't show up for work, an unease settled in, an unease that quickly became panic. Katelyn's disappearance sent ripples through the community. This was a girl who never failed to check in with her loved ones. Her absence was not just noticeable, it was alarming. Police initially hesitated to treat it as an emergency. After all, Katelyn was a capable 21-year-old woman, and not even 24 hours had passed. But her friends and family knew better. This was not like Katelyn. John took it upon himself to return to Katelyn's house, hoping for some clue that would ease his anxiety. Her car sat in the driveway, her dog ran in the yard, her keys and purse lay inside. Everything was in its usual place, except for Katelyn. And her absence, combined with the familiarity of her surroundings, only made the emptiness feel sharper, more terrifying. Something was wrong, terribly wrong. It was at that point that Fairfield authorities knew this wasn't a case of a young woman running off. They launched a missing persons investigation, combing Katelyn's townhouse and questioning John, who had been the last to see her. But nothing seemed out of the ordinary. No signs of struggle, no clues to indicate where Katelyn might have gone. Days turned into weeks, and Katelyn's face, once the center of warmth and creativity, now stared back at everyone from missing posters and TV broadcasts. The community of Fairfield pulled together in the search. Friends, neighbors, strangers, parks, forests, waterways, they scoured every inch of the surrounding areas. Police officers, mounted patrols, and volunteers expanded their search, but no trace of Katelyn emerged. It was as if she had simply vanished into thin air. Weeks turned into months, and with each passing day, the chances of finding Katelyn seemed to slip further from their grasp. Hope is a powerful thing, but it can also be excruciating. Katelyn's family, her father Dave, her sister Allie, her friends, held on to that hope with both hands. They needed answers, and for nearly 20 long months, they had none. Then, on a seemingly ordinary April day in 2013, something happened. A young couple exploring a creek in Cedar Grove, Indiana, stumbled upon bones scattered along the water's edge. At first, they thought they had found the remains of an animal, but a closer look, a skull, made it clear that these were human remains. Their hearts sank as they dialed 911, fearing the worst. The remains were transported for forensic analysis, and after days of anxious waiting, the truth emerged. It was Katelyn Markham. After nearly 2 years, Katelyn had been found. But the discovery brought no peace, only more questions. How had she ended up there, alone, miles away from home? What had happened to her? Katelyn's family was devastated, but now they had a mission: to find out who had taken her. The authorities turned their investigation towards solving her murder, but it was not an easy task. Katelyn's body had been left out in the elements for over a year, leaving only bones. And bones do not speak easily. The only significant clue was blunt force trauma marks on her left wrist, but it wasn't enough to determine what had killed her or how she died. Forensic teams worked tirelessly, but answers were few and far between. Eventually, Katelyn's family held a memorial service, a bittersweet farewell to a bright soul that had been taken far too soon. Butterflies, a symbol Katelyn had always loved, adorned the memorial as family and friends gathered to celebrate the life she had lived, even as they mourned the future she had lost. But Katelyn's story was far from over. Her father, Dave Markham, was determined to keep her case alive. He pressured law enforcement to keep investigating, to not let her case slip into the cold files of history. Rumors had swirled from the beginning, and many couldn't help but cast suspicious glances at John Carter, the fiancé who had once vowed to love Katelyn forever. He had been the last person to see her, the one who reported her missing. And slowly, the pieces of evidence began to stack up, small, seemingly inconsequential things that, taken together, began to form a troubling picture. Then, in 2023, John Carter was arrested. It seemed the police had finally gathered enough circumstantial evidence to bring him in. His initial alibi had holes. He had scratches on his neck after Katelyn went missing, which he attributed to shaving, a story he later changed. And the real break came when the police searched John's home. Inside, they found something chilling: drawings, poems, and notes that spoke of fantasies of violence, passages that alluded to an angel in the woods. A line that read, "I slit your wrists with the key to your heart." The very same wrist on which Katelyn's remains bore trauma marks. John Carter, once a beloved fiancé, was now the prime suspect in Katelyn's death. Faced with mounting evidence, he pled guilty, not to murder, but to involuntary manslaughter. He claimed it had been an accident, a tragic mistake that ended Katelyn's life. He told the court that after her death, he had panicked, disposed of her body in an area he knew well, a creek near where his family owned property. In July 2023, John Carter was sentenced to 3 years in prison. Just 3 years. For taking the life of a vibrant young woman, for leaving her family in agony for over a decade, he would spend only a fraction of that time behind bars. The courtroom fell silent as the sentence was handed down. Katelyn's family, who had waited so long for justice, felt a sense of anger and betrayal. It was not enough. How could it ever be enough? Katelyn's father, Dave, spoke of his daughter during the sentencing, his voice filled with both pain and love. "Butterflies remind me of her," he said. "I often wonder what she'd be doing now, with her art, her career. She would have been such an amazing woman, and it makes me angry that he lived freely for 12 years, thinking he got away with it." Katelyn Markham was taken too soon. Her family, her friends, the Fairfield community, all of them remember her as the young woman who laughed with her whole heart, who brought colour to every space she touched. And though her life was cut short, her memory lives on. Her father and her family are now working towards Katelyn's law, a law that would allow more severe charges for similar cases of manslaughter, to ensure that the next family doesn't have to watch a killer walk away so easily. This story reminds us of the fragility of life, the darkness that can hide behind familiar faces, and the relentless strength of those left behind. Katelyn's family may never feel that they got true justice, but they continue to fight, not just for her, but for others, so that maybe someday someone else will find the answers.